Happy Thursday. It is Deputy Grote, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Forward Coaching. I saw lots and lots of friends and people that I know well registered for this session today, so welcome to all of you. We're going to be talking about the 3 secrets of negotiations. We've been on a little bit of a tear with just really diving in on how to be a more powerful sales professional, how to negotiate with ease, eliminate some of the stress as you work with what can sometimes be difficult customers. So I love this topic. We'll have lots of fun today. Thank you, Clay. I'm so glad you said you can hear me loud and clear. And so as we go, please feel free. Any questions, type them in the chat box. Any thoughts, any observations, go ahead, go wild, and we'll save some time at the end, and I will circle back to that. So again, I'm Deputy Grote, CEO and co-founder of Forward Coaching. We're located right here in the Newport Beach area of Orange County, which is a luxury market. But we have locations across the country, and we coach all across North America. So what's really great about that is I get to hear lots of stories about tough situations in difficult markets, and I get to travel all across the country and get in front of great agents. So always fun to be with you guys every week. So let's dive in. So secret number 1, negotiation theory. You know, I love this quote from the Harvard Business Journal, cooperation. A cooperative approach is the surest path to understanding the other party and discovering new sources of value. You know, I'm a fan of the book Never Split the Difference, which I've mentioned to some of you before, written by Chris Voss, who is the ex-FBI hostage negotiator, now turned Harvard business advisor, right, to train on negotiations. And Chris often talks about that sometimes sales professionals have in their mind that the best way to be a great negotiator is to be aggressive, to be a hammer, to be forceful, to be brash, and even maybe argumentative. And he says, wow, you know, in a hostage situation, if we did that, people would die. In a transaction, in a negotiation in business, the deal just falls apart. So he's a very big believer in trying to find common ground, solution-oriented conversations and a cooperative approach. Now, this can be difficult, right? Because you may be working with an agent on the other side of the deal that's not very cooperative, kind, or gracious. Well, what do? Kind of have to just take the high road, right? I think of it like suck it up on my client's behalf. However, if you have in the past been guilty of being aggressive and forceful in your negotiations, you might want to think about that, right? Think about that, because remember, most of us are all going to be in business for a very long time in the areas where we work. And we want other sales professionals to want to work with you, right? So then let's talk about motivation. I feel like today's consumers, they tend to hide their motivation a little bit more than I feel like they used to. And I don't know why. Is that because they think if we understand all their whys and wishes, that will give us some power over them? I don't know, maybe. But I think if we can be that detective, asking the right questions, paying attention, reading between the lines, really trying to focus on their interests, their concerns, and their true motivation is so much more powerful than focusing on what is called the stated position, okay? So let me give you an example of that. I know you've all had this happen, right? Where you have a listing It's not selling. You're talking to your seller about a price adjustment, and they say, I don't have to sell. Okay, well, maybe it's true. Maybe they're just absolutely not motivated. They don't have to sell. They're not going to make any extra effort to cooperate because they don't care. That could be. Or it could be just a stated position. It's not real. It's not true. It's almost just like a negotiation tactic. They're negotiating with you, trying to say, I don't have to sell, so you better hustle up, do a better job, and get this home sold at the price I want. So when I hear that, what I think is a stated position, I'm like, I got to dig a little deeper. And I also have to look at the backstory of this situation. So wait a minute. They bought a house in Arizona. Their grandkids are there. They've already been packing. They even had an estate sale. Well, I guess they could stay, but none of that seems likely that they would stay. So what I could ask them is, well, I appreciate that you may have options, which is good. I guess I'm wondering, other than actually selling the home, what other option were you considering? Well, what do you mean? Well, I mean, of course, you bought your home in Arizona, and I think you were hoping to pay cash. So if you didn't sell the home, would you still make the move? Well, no, we have to make the move. Okay, yeah, because the grandkids, right? I know they're anxious to get you there. So do you still need the cash from this home? Well, yeah, we do. Yeah, well, see, actually, we need to sell. It's just, I don't want to go too low. See, bingo, there we go, right? But you got to be careful because you can't say, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not buying this. I know you have to sell. We really want to get them to either self-realize or a gracious way that we open the door that they can admit that actually there's more motivation going on. And see, that then takes us to the next piece, which is likability. See, if we're going to get them to open up and really be open-minded to cooperating, but also to really share their goals, dreams, wishes, and plans, we have to have trust and rapport established. It's a critical component of successful negotiation, which is likability. So how do we be likable? Well, be calm, be patient, ask great questions about things that really matter to them. Don't argue. Don't make them wrong, right? We want to stay in that level plane of rapport. And we also want to be looking for solutions to their problems versus beating them or the other side into submission. So looking for solutions, always the best approach, right? Now, you're going to have problems. Real estate deals, there are problems. So I even like to prepare sellers and buyers and say, real estate transactions can be a little bumpy. There's a lot of parties involved. If a problem arises, I'm always going to be direct and honest with you. I'm going to tell you what's going on, but I'm also going to come to you with options or solutions to that problem so that we can make decisions together. See, I have to be honest with them, but you know what I don't need to do? I don't need to share the drama, right? So let's just pretend for a moment that it's your buyer and there were some items on the request for repairs that your buyer asked for. You and your buyer think it's reasonable. You present it to the other agent goes ballistic on you. The seller goes ballistic on you. We sold this house too cheap as it is. We're not doing a thing. And the agent says, I told them that your buyer can just walk if he wants. Like, it's really dramatic. Okay, I have a choice. I can go back to my buyer and simply tell them the truth. And the truth is the seller is unwilling to make any of those repairs because they feel they sold it at a price that was a bit below market and they're not going to do the repairs. So I think it's a good house. You love it. The repairs are rather minimal. Are you open-minded to purchasing the home as is, closing the deal, and doing the repairs later? Right? That's the facts. Or I could go back to them and say, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what they said. Let me tell you what they did. But what does that do? Nothing. It just dumps drama on your buyer. It puts you that much further apart. Well, but it's not fair. They should fix those things. Hey, it's a real estate deal. It isn't always a win-win, right? If that's what they want and the buyer wants the house, the buyer has to decide if they're willing to go along with it. And dumping that drama, all it does makes you feel a little better for the moment because you got to vent. And that's not really fair to the prospect, is it? So then logic versus emotion as we think about negotiation. It's funny, we all like to think that we're really logical creatures, but we're really not. We're really not. Everything we do in our life, for the most part, is fueled by emotion. And then we look for logical reasons to justify it, right? How many of, I'm going to admit, I've done this. I won't make you guys admit it. But I'm just wondering how many of you have done what I've done, back in the day, newer agent in the business. It's like, well, I have to spend more to lease a better car because if I have a better car, they're going to think I'm successful. Oh, and that's true to a point, I can't be driving a car with the tailpipe dragging, up to my listing appointment. However, I didn't need to lease a BMW, right? But I wanted to. So that's emotion. And then I justified it with logic. Now, how this breaks down for us with our buyers and sellers is you're looking at them sometimes thinking, this is just not even logical. Not even logical. Well, why would you expect it to be? It's fueled by emotion. So perfect situation, just talking to an agent. They listed an older couple's home on a golf course. They've lived there forever. They've raised their children forever. Now they're moving into assisted living. They need to sell the house. And she tried to get them to be open-minded to stagers, because kind of dated, decor. No, not going to stage. Well, would you let a designer come in and advise? Okay, fine. They actually refused to move items on a bookshelf. They refused. And she's like, that's not logical. I said, but it's emotional. See, let's get in their head, walk a mile in their shoes. They're giving up their home that they've been in for years. And it's not like an exciting move necessarily, right? To move to assisted living. Lots of emotion. If we understand that, then we can negotiate with them more effectively. But here's a different example. Let's say that you've got this first-time buyer and you found this house and it's a good deal. And you're saying, hey, I got this house. You need to buy it. It's a great deal. It's below market and you should really buy it. Well, what does it look like? Well, it doesn't matter because it's a good deal. You just need to come over here. You just need to buy it. But wait, am I going to like it? Because see, again, emotion, right? So we always want to remember everything they're saying and doing is driven by emotion, good emotion or bad emotion. And then they need those logical reasons to justify what they want to do or should do. And by the way, if you're saying, wait, I'm super analytical, I'm not emotional. Everybody is emotional. Analytical people just need more reasons and data to justify what they want to do. Okay, so secret number 2, negotiation skill. All right, here's where the cool stuff comes in. Emotional intelligence, or your EQ. See, high stakes negotiations, they do create massive anxiety in all parties. So you need to master your skill of managing and controlling your ego and emotions. I would highly recommend that you get the book, if you haven't read it already, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Easy to find. You can Google it. It'll pop right up, Barnes & Noble. In the back, after you read the short little book, which is a great little book, in the back is a code. And you can use that code to go online to their website and take your EQ assessment. It takes 10 minutes. It's not an IQ test. I don't think I would want to do that. I'm sure I wouldn't get a very high score, but it's your EQ. And the EQ is, there's 2 scores. One is your awareness of how you roll, how you communicate, how do you impact others, that you're aware of how that plays out, right? How you impact others. The other score is your ability to instinctively and quickly assess people and situations. So you'll get 2 scores and then a combined score. It's a 0 to 100. I won't personally hire any coaches at Forward that do not have a score in each category of over 85. I expect high emotional intelligence from my coaches. So what if you took the assessment, though, and your EQ score was 56 and 65, and you're like, no, I want it to be higher. Well, the great thing about that assessment is it tells you exactly what you can do based on your own EQ to improve. And they tell you to work on it for about 60 to 90 days. Then they give you the opportunity to use that code 1 additional time. Take it again, you're going to see a dramatic change. So don't be disheartened if you don't like the score, because they give you exactly what to do to make it higher. And it's incredible. I love it. So social intelligence. Sarah, you just have to buy the book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And they have it online or a physical book, and then the code is in the back. So super easy to find. I actually like the physical book because that when I took my assessment and it references me back to chapter or page or paragraph in the book, I found it was easier just to have it in my hand and, be using it kind of like a little workbook, actually. Social intelligence, sales versatility. I went to a class once and it said, you should challenge yourself at least once a week to do something that is outside of your comfort zone. Because the point of the instructor was we all get in our rut. The people we hang out with, the things we do, drive the same way to work every day. And he said, in that rut, it eliminates a lot of our versatility. So to keep ourselves versatile, challenge ourselves to do things. So, my family is foodies. We eat all kinds of food. Everything is fine. We don't care. And I told, and he actually made a point of saying, try an ethnic restaurant that you've never tried before, or food you've never tried before. And he said, Taco Bell doesn't count. So my daughters at the time were young teenagers. They're always on Yelp. And I said, okay, so find us every week a really cool, not fancy, I want very culturally specific, like it's the real deal. And if we have to drive a little ways to go there, we're going to do it. We're going to try new food. And I remember we went to this small Indian restaurant that they found, and we were the only people there that actually spoke English. Like, it was really, they did a good job. I mean, it was the real deal. Everybody was, speaking their own language, and the menu was the real deal. And we just ordered things. Some of it we didn't know what we were ordering, and some of it was phenomenal, and some was a little bit weird, to us, but not weird to them. See, but that's the versatility. So it was fun. It was an adventure, and we still talk about it. So it's really teaching yourself to get outside of your comfort zone so that you will be able to quickly establish and maintain rapport with all parties in the deal. So no matter how difficult they are, it might not be that you end up liking them or want to work with them again. Maybe they end the deal and you're not the best of friends, but we can lower the stress inside of that transaction, right? And I always think of the phrase chameleon-like. And the chameleon is that little lizard that when you put them on a different background, they change their color so that they can blend. So it's not being fake or phony. Just think of it as looking at that puzzle of who are they? And I'm going to put those pieces together. I'm going to mirror and match their rate of speech, because fast talkers want you to talk fast. Slow talkers want you to slow down. I'm going to acknowledge and validate. I can appreciate that. I understand. I hear you. It sounds like to me you're very upset. Talk to me about that. And then finding common ground, right? And that's the key in the negotiation, trying to find that common ground to bring those parties together. The Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde syndrome that we talked about. Sometimes our buyers and sellers, or anyone we're working on the transaction with, sometimes people behave badly, and they feel bad later that they behaved badly. But how do they back down from that aggressive position? Or they ask for kind of crazy things, and you need to say no, but how do you do it in a way that allows them to save face? And I'll give you an example. I was working with a buyer, and she was from another country and very broken English, very, very difficult to negotiate with. She was hardcore. She just would grind on every aspect, make the deal, and then grind again. Well, we were just about to close. So I took her on the final walkthrough, and she said to me, Debbie, in my country, the real estate agent buys a gift for the buyer. And I'm like, uh-oh, now what, right? She goes, yeah, all new appliances, including washer and dryer, stainless steel. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? And I was so exhausted with her that I accidentally said the right thing. I mean it. I accidentally said the right thing. I later studied years later and figured out I had said the right thing, which was with a haggler like that, you got to shut him down. Because if I start trying to reason with her, well, in my commission, and I did this, I did that, that doesn't work with them. No, she wanted what she wanted. So the only way was to shut it down hard. And I said, no, I don't do that. And if I did that for you, it wouldn't be fair to all my other buyers who did not get the appliances. So I have to say no. And she said, oh, okay, wouldn't be fair. Okay, fine. Because see, that was a little way for her to save face. Does she actually care it wasn't fair? No, but it gave her a way to save face. So stay calm, keep others calm, try really hard not to create sides, and shield the other party from emotions even when they run high. A friend of mine said this, and I love it. He said, you know, Debbie, a master negotiator will take a sword on behalf of their client. So when you're talking, let's say you have the seller, and let's say the seller does not want to do the request for repairs. They want to sell as is. Buyer wants these repairs done. And you go to the other agent and you say, you know, because this was an as-is deal, I have advised my sellers not to agree to the repairs. See, actually, it's the seller saying no, but I want to allow my client to be the good guy. Because if they feel like my client is the bad guy, we're just going to have more bumps along the way. And then I think part of being a great negotiator is you have to know your market. You've got to know the product. You've got to be able to have data-driven conversations and present practical recommendations and options. And also with any buyer or seller that you're working with, anytime you can spend a bit of extra time up front to educate them, to set proper expectations, your job's going to be easier. So for example, you may have a seller who in their mind may decide that the market should be like it was a year plus ago, 25 bids on day one. But see, when I take that listing, if I sit them down and I show them data about days on market, price adjustments that are occurring, if I discuss all of that with them and I prep them and set an expectation that, no, we're not going to have 25 bids, that's not likely. And we're back in a market where the best offer might be the first offer. See, if I can set that expectation up front with any buyer or seller, what's likely to occur, the reality of the situation, it'll be easier. I'm not going to say it'll be easy. It'll be easier to negotiate with them. So negotiation tactics, ask great questions. So learn great questions to ask, study great questions to ask, and ask great questions. That's so important. Storytelling. Third-party stories are a big persuader because people either want to learn from what someone did well and they want to do the same, or they want to avoid making a mistake that others have made. You know, this reminds me of a time, or this is just like a situation that we navigated at my brokerage. And let me share with you the story of what happened. Or may I tell you a little story that I think will help you understand the situation? There's been a lot of scientific studies with people with electrodes on their brain. And when you say to someone, let me tell you a story, their brain lights up. People love stories. So then, language of agreement. Always seek ways to acknowledge and validate. Eliminate argumentative language. Well, I get your point, but here's the thing. That's argumentative. Get rid of the word but. It is like saying, but you're wrong. Instead say, and, or and yet. Here's another way we could look at it. Soften your tonality. The more stressed and tense the situation is, the softer the tonality. Chris Voss calls it the late night DJ voice. He's a, never split the difference, hostage negotiator, late night DJ voice. And when you ask questions, come from curiosity, not judgment. Well, let me see if I can give you an example. Well, this is a full price offer and no contingencies at all. Very good buyer. I'm curious, what's stopping you? from moving forward with it? Tell me about that. Or I could say, well, it's a full price offer. It's a good buyer. Why aren't you taking it? Same question, different result. So stay calm. You are the calm, cool head in the deal. If things get heated, back away. Just give the parties a chance to cool down. Don't force it. If they attack you, don't take the bait, and yet be prepared to come back with strength. And just remember, be patient. Even the nicest people lose their mind sometimes in a real estate deal. So our job as a great negotiator, as part of our tactics, always anticipate what the objections might be. Anticipate the questions you're going to need to ask or that they might ask you. How are you going to respond to those questions? And also, based on that customer and situation, anticipate the necessary data and information. Because, you know, the old saying, forewarned is forearmed. If you are well prepared to walk into that negotiation, the outcome is going to be so much better. And then ask yourself, because we always want to improve. I think of, skill, negotiation skill. I think it's an art. It's amazing when someone is a phenomenal negotiator. It kind of makes the world go round, right? So ask yourself at the end of each negotiation, what did I do right? What did not go well? And based on that, what will I do differently the next time? And then make those adjustments. Now, are you ever going to screw up? Yeah, you will. You'll blow it. We all do. We all have. But if I can do this little assessment at the end, it allows me to learn from my mistakes, help lots of people in the future in a better fashion, make more money. But then once I assess and know what I need to improve, you know what, guys? I got to let it go, right? I can't beat myself up. So I really appreciate you guys being here today because I think it shows a great investment of your time and energy to be better for those that you work with. And if you have lots of improvements you'd like to make and you want to talk to me about how we can help you with that here at Forward, just scan that QR code. My guys will call you. They'll find out what you need. They'll get that over to me so that I can get that help for you personally. And also, there's no contract here at Forward. We just want you to join and stay because you're thrilled with your result. And yes, Anthony, we have recorded it, and it just takes about 1 day. So tomorrow, you guys should have your copy of this recording. All right. Thanks again for being here today, guys. I will see you all very soon. See you next week. Bye-bye.